Hi everybody, it's alisamurray here in the Sweet Life Garden after the deep freeze in Texas. Hi my Sweet Lifers, it's been exhausting. We've had no water in the house because it came pouring into the studio and then it went into the master closet, but there's another episode for that on the channel that I'll have once we get done with that project. I wanted to share with you today what happened in the garden, what I did, what's happy and sweet, and what's definitely going to have to be replaced and not sweet. So first off, I want you to check out these collards. They love it. And it's no surprise to me either, because in North Carolina, where Brian and I are from, this is really a wonderful thing to have around Thanksgiving. And in Thanksgiving time in North Carolina, it's cold. So this is not a surprise. What was a little bit of a surprise is all of these beds I wrapped in plastic. And I want you to take a peek at this. The lettuces are pretty much gone. There's a little bit of some greens there. There's really nothing left of this bed. The lettuces are all like mushy gushy, kind of almost like a jelly. I'm going to come in here tomorrow and I'm going to get all this out of the garden, and then I'm going to till it up and put in some micronutrients from MicroLife. Thank you to MicroLife, by the way, and the soil from Sienna Mulch, and re-prep these beds and get these guys ready for what I'm going to show you that did survive that I put on the porch. So that's what's going on with this one. This bed here, major issues, but there's a little bit of shard that made it through, which is actually quite good, because I want to show you Big Mama. Big Mama bit the dust. Many of you guys that have been following me on the channel, and for those that have been following me in my column for years on gardening, you know about Big Mama. Big Mama was right here, and Big Mama did not make it. She looks terrible. I don't even think that she's... No, the root systems are just mushed up and gone. Everything's gone. This whole bed, though, was covered, but she's going to have to come out. But check out the kale, guys. I mean, me and Carl are going to be making, I think I put together 4 different kale recipes, including a kale smoothie for the 2 Chefs show. So this kale is just beautiful and happy. I even have an episode where I'm going to show you how to massage the kale so that your salads taste really, really good. So that's coming up in another episode. Celery did fine. Celery's good. My priest, Father Andrew, showed up here with some water because, you know, Texas got really hammered with people clearing all the shelves, and there was nothing, no supplies or anything. We had to turn the well off because the well was going to fly water into the house and into the studio, and he was generous enough to come by and bring me some water. And when he did, I made him a bunch of celery and kale and cabbages to take home to his family. So great big shout out to my priest. The cabbages here did pretty good. I'm still in the process of actually harvesting these guys pretty much every day, every couple of days, so many times that last night I did that date drizzle I did on an episode a few weeks back, and Uncle Brian looked at me and said, Mama, I ain't eating that for dinner. So I've got to find some more interesting recipes to use for cabbage, because cabbage is getting old here as we have so much of it, and it did beautiful considering the temperatures. We got down to -6 in the Sweet Life Garden, and it was freezing cold for 3 days in the house. So some things did well, some things didn't do well, and there's a lot of things that we don't know yet how they're going to do. Take a peek back here behind me, or over here to the left. This is an archway that I've used for years and years to photograph children and families and pregnant women, and one that comes to mind is actually a daddy surprised me and got down on his knee and asked his now wife to marry him right there underneath that archway, and that archway is looking pretty terrible, but there are green underneath, so hopefully we can clear out that other and that it'll make it as well. The passion vines, they're beautiful, gorgeous red flowers that have a cross in the middle. They're just beautiful. I had just put them in during COVID, and they're really crunchy. I don't know if they're going to make it or not. I may wait a little bit and see if there's any life left, but it looks like it's probably all gone and dead. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm going to cut it back later this week and see if I can fertilize it a little bit. I've got some seaweed and some other MicroLife ingredients that I can use to try to put back some nitrates in the soil, and hopefully I can save it. I don't know though, it doesn't look too savable at this point. The palms Dear Lord, guys, look at the palms. They'd be perfect to spray paint gold and have it for decorations for Christmas, except that it's almost March. So I don't know if they'll make it. The bottoms are green, so maybe they'll just drop their leaves or their shards or whatever and come back. The lemon tree, very angry, but this particular lemon tree was a tree that didn't have edible fruit on it. So if it's gone, I'll just put back a beautiful something else. Look at the aloe vera. All the aloe vera that I've grown forever. Some of it made it. Some of it's up underneath there. There's ants here, so I don't want to get in that bed, but you can see it popping through. There's a little baby lizard. You see him? So cute. There's life here anyway, even though there's all this craziness. I was worried about that. I was worried about the birds and the butterflies and the ladybugs and all of those animals that depend on this garden for their food source. I had the eggplants covered and cut back and mulched before the storm. The pineapples were a little bit greener yesterday. They may have to all come out and start from scratch. My next door neighbor, he said that he lost his, so it may be that that's just a lost cause, and I'll just start from scratch on that bed. Over here, same thing. This is the bed that has the Japanese, those long purple skinny eggplants, and the little itty bitty ones that have a little flecks on them. And this bed is looking about as pitiful as that bed is, but we'll see what happens. All the jalapenos and banana peppers. Again, we did as much as we could to prep and cover, but I have no idea. I'm going to wait another couple of weeks, like I said, to see what happens here. The Brussels, good Lord, Brussels did great. Again, because they're used to the cold weather. It's actually harder to grow these guys in Texas because of that. I showed you guys with Carl a couple of weeks ago on the Two Chefs show, but they did great. And it really takes several months for these guys to harvest, so be ready to harvest rather. So I'm not worried about that at all. The papaya, the big papaya tree, not so much. The big papaya tree it had a few little green leaves here. Well, there's green under there, but it's kind of mushy. So I don't know if that's going to make it or not. It's real goopy in there. And then, of course, I'd already harvested out a lot of the cabbages and the broccoli and the cauliflower from this side of the garden prior to the freeze. Over here, same thing. I had pulled out all the broccoli, and then I had cut back. One of my viewers mentioned to cut back the asparagus, and I'm gonna see. I want to show you. I've got some right there. They're there, but you know what? They're not looking very, there's some that look good and some that look bad. So I'm going to cut these out, I'm just going to pull them out with you watching me. I'm going to pull this out and then cut back what I can, because I don't know if you remember me telling you, this bed, I did an experiment last year, because you know I've been gardening for a long time, the normal stuff. And then this past year with COVID and switching to my format being the YouTube channel for all of my content, I put half this bed in with seeds and the other half with root balls. And the root balls I watered forever and they never did a thing. And so I converted the other half of the bed to something else. I think it was tomatoes. So this year, this whole bed is going to be dedicated to asparagus. So it's a good sign to see that there's some green popping up. We do have some. I just hope I can make it make more so that we can have it sustain our family. Over here, these beds obviously were all pulled out prior to the storm anyway, so not too much damage here. One of my dear friends came by to help me clean up the studio. And I don't know if you know it or not, but in the seed pods of your flowers, and these were some wildflowers that I planted to attract my pollinators, they're hibernating in there. So if you've got some flowers that look kind of bad but have like seed pods on them, leave them in there so that they've got a place to stay, because that's where they are right now. They're hibernating, your little ladybugs and your different little animals that are good for the garden. I'm not going to pull any of that out just yet. Over here in the orchard, we've got some things that are really happening, wonderful and exciting, and then we've got some things that are happening that may have to just be called a wash and start from scratch. So The first thing is, I don't know if the pomegranate, the blueberry, if the dragon fruit, the citrus have all lost their leaves except for that one. I'm not sure if they're going to be okay, but I'm going to wait. Like I said, I'm going to come out here and put some microlife on them and really work it into their root system and see if I can save it and salvage it. The dragon fruit, I've learned a lesson here this year. It doesn't look very good, but it doesn't feel too bad, and at the base it's still attached really good. So I'm going to put some special stuff for that on it. I had so hoped to have really big, beautiful dragon fruit trees. I really hoped we'd have that. But check out those tulips, guys. Look at that. That's the promise of a sweet life right there. We put in 400 to be able to photograph the families and have beautiful spring shoots. And what happens when we have a great big storm in Texas, the first of its kind in many, many years, and then we despair, and then you look over there and here's a yellow one, and they're starting to pop. The tulips are happy. You know, I remember growing up in North Carolina, Mama had tulips. She had them, she planted them, and they grew every year, many, many years after she was killed. I remember going out there to her garden and enjoying those tulips. So that's a wonderful thing to see in all of the other that we've had to deal with. So I'm going to walk over to the herbs and show you what I saved and news about what's going in. So I'll see you in a second. Hi guys, so we're back over here. We're back on what's right beside the kitchen near the porch, and I pulled in every single one of the herbs, and I got the orange trees and the tangerine trees. I had left them over onto the room in the house so that they were not exposed at all. All the pepper plants here were on the porch. All the palms, everything that you see out here was fine, because everything out here was put on the porch, including all of the babies, all the brand new tomatoes, strawberries, all the gorgeousness. And I was telling you guys when I did my Instagram post last week before all this craziness happened, that my tomato plants actually grew 3 inches, and they did, and they've got to go in. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that as well. But anyway, it's just been crazy. Over here you've got all the little baby seedlings that I had started too, and we were able to save those as well. So I hope that you guys have found some value in what I'm showing you. I mean, gosh knows, the oregano there is gorgeous. It got brought in, that's why it made it. But there's just no way to pull in every single thing when you've got a storm like we had in Texas. So, but I'll be looking forward to showing you and sharing with you as we continue to grow the garden and get the garden prepared for the spring. I just wanted to give you a really nice update on where we were and show you those beautiful tulips. So if you found any value in this, please do me a favor and like and share, and don't forget to ring the bell, and I'll see you soon on the channel. Take care.